Welcome everybody to this talk that's part of Downtown Design entitled An Eye to the Future. It's human nature to obsess about the future, be it personal, professional, or planetary. The unknown is looked upon with fear, yes, but also I think with fascination. When it comes to design though, we know that a powerful idea, when molded into being or put into practice, can bring about real change. It's little wonder then that elements of architecture and decor are often referred to as design solutions. Accordingly, all of the speakers who are part of today's talk are armed with an ambitious arsenal of ideas that have the power to influence the shape of things to come in the world of design, that most multifaceted of industries that can change lives, mindsets, and indeed the future. Emirati architect Abdullah Al Mullah, for instance, who is the founder of Dubai's Mullah Design Studio, is a big believer in prototyping, which we'll talk about in a minute. And he said that design for him is about enhancing people's lives. Then we have Hind Al Matrouk. I'm going to pause and say that again. Then we have Hind Al Matrouk and Gijo Paul George of Kuwait's Studio Toggle, who are keen to come up with solutions that improve people's day-to-day experiences and enhance their interactions with their surroundings. Elsewhere, Dutch designer Sabine Marcellus runs an eponymous studio through which she strives to make a case for spatial design with the focus on materiality, a winning combination of functionality and beauty, because design can and should appeal to its viewers and its users on multiple levels. And finally, we have Lebanese designer Richard Yasmin, who's a big believer in the traditional side of design, be it looking to cultural motifs for inspiration or working with local artisans to breathe life into new designs. And indeed, the past may well hold the key to the future when it comes to design solutions in these most unusual of times. So let me start with you, Abdullah, about the responsible patterns of production and consumption, which is something you have spoken about for your conveyor belt installation, which you've said illustrates that our patterns of production could lead to an unknown, undesirable future. So what do you think needs to happen from a production point of view that can alter this future into a more positive one, as it were?
Thank you so much. I think first, if we tap into the idea of a responsible production and how did we lead ourselves to come to this point, and I think mainly was part of it was linking design with let's say the mass production idea, and how we want to streamline all our products and try to create massive quantity to get more margin of each product. And I think with this shift, we started to ignore the values of design, the value that should be integrated in every product. And that's when we started to drive future being destroyed. You can see the nature that's being harmed by our patterns of production. So that the installation was a response to that message. But then what is the alternative solution? What can we do to it? I think one solution is thinking of circular economies. So as a designer, when I come to design a product, I need to not just think of who's going to buy this product, but long after that, how is this product will be either given away to different generations. It's a product that will be there to last, or if it will not have that much of a long lifespan, how will it be recycled? Can it have a different function, or can the material be reused? So these are all alternatives that we need to consider while we are designing, whether it was a products, architecture, or even like interior design and exhibitions.
Okay, thank you for that. Speaking of waste and thought-led design, Hind and Gijo, you've built an installation from construction waste. Can you tell us a bit more about this, and also how it ties in with your concept of the role design can and should play in the future?
First of all, I'd like to thank Downtown Design, Pratish and Pana for having us here today to share our opinions and express them among such distinguished company, and thank you very much for this. Yes, I mean, we have made an installation out of construction waste, and I will talk about that first in detail and about the process of how we achieved it. The installation is called Unit Plus, and it was commissioned as part of the initiative of the Ministry of Public Works, along with Fastron Partners, who are the lead architects of the Kuwait International Airport. So the installation was created to shed lights and raise awareness of the sheer amount of construction waste being generated from mega projects such as airports, for example. And it is estimated that around 90% of the waste, that includes wood, metals, plastics, you name it, end up in landfills. And as a result of that, there's pollution happening for the water table, and it creates a lot of other issues. Our mandate here is to highlight the amount of wood and timber being generated from the waste of that construction site. And we have collected 3.5 tons of waste from the site, and which was supposed to be destined to the landfill. And that we take it to the carpentry, we have cleaned it up and sorted it out, cut it out to uniform sizes. And then we have created and assembled 2,400 modular units. And then we assembled that together to create the vaulted installation. The intent here was very simple. The intent was just to create a dialogue about the construction waste. And we believe that we succeeded in that. The installation created from the materials served from a construction site landed peacefully in a Kuwait public park, and that fascinated people. And people engaged with it, and it created a dialogue. And this is what we wanted, and this aligned with our agenda, that design is a tool, and that it makes a social change and creates a dialogue between people to raise awareness about these things.
So in effect, it was just something that, well, more than the aesthetics, more than the process, it was just meant as a tool for people to engage with, because so you have a tactile feeling to it, because you're in that space, you touch that waste, which was generated from that construction, but then you have it in a fancy park, and it is upcycled into something that can be usable. So in that regard, the design as a tool for social commentary. I mean, we call ourselves, urban activists. So so through these, interventions, we feel like we plant these seeds of change here and there, and hopefully it will be something in the future.
Yes, absolutely. And speaking about sending an important message through design, Richard, your wake-up call lamps, they shine a light on semi-precious rocks as well as abandoned birds' nests, which is obviously representative of nature's call for help. Do you think design solutions in the future need to keep the environment top of mind?
Well, our natural environment is a priceless part of the universal heritage. So all animals, forests, plants, minerals, salts, etc. Have a role to play for our healthy natural atmosphere, and all are fundamentally important in every ecosystem. Therefore, it's our responsibility to save it and to highlight on this heritage, which is a natural heritage. So being concerned can feel a bit overwhelming, but there are actions that we should take to help preserve the natural world. To start, at least in our own society, as individuals, so we should adopt sustainability. We as designers also can maximize actions by raising awareness, and this is really very important, especially raising awareness of local environmental change challenges among our communities, and push for policies to protect nature, highlighting on these problems will indirectly help. Definitely, it will indirectly help, but also finding solutions will be even better if it's possible to find solution.
Thank you for that, Richard.
Okay.
The other thing that I really admired about those lamps was how uniquely they were shaped. And it almost reminded me, Sabine, of some of your work. So I would like to talk a little bit more about the aesthetics of design. So Sabine, do you think that creativity and functionality can truly coexist when it comes to designing objects that solve a problem? And sure, that problem can be as straightforward as a lighting solution or a seating solution.
Hi. I also want to just thank you for having me part of this panel. I'm really honored to be part of this downtown design talk. Yeah, I think when we talk about design, there are so many different ways of designing, and it's such a broad field. You know, Studio Toggle, they're talking about, they're doing more sort of activism design. And Richard is, you know, turning a mirror to the people to, you know, create awareness. And then there is people that are creating life-changing medical devices. It's all design related. And I see my own design practice as a sort of, I'm contributing in a way as not creating super functional objects in the classical sense of industrial design, but also the function of my designs are more to create an emotional experience. So in a way, the function is this emotional side of it, which I think can also be quite important to be able to have a reaction to designs. And I think aesthetics and materiality play a big role in that, or just trying to create something that captures your imagination or triggers some curiosity, and that emotional trigger becomes the function.
I think they should both work parallel to each other. I mean, I think we have been designing and creating products for a very long time now as humankind. And I don't think the world needs another, let's say, not aesthetically pleasing product. So we need to take that into consideration very carefully. And then another part would be the functional part, because, I mean, with today's technology and development, more functions are coming to our world. Maybe, I don't know, 30 years ago, the wireless charger didn't exist, but today it does. And it can affect the way we sit. It can affect the way we use our tables. Even the heights are changing. So all these things that we need to take into consideration while we're designing. For example, Tie-In was a project that was inspired by the, let's say, the vernacular architecture of the UAE, using palm weaving techniques and using the palm fonts as a way to construct houses. But how can we look into that, look at the details that we used to use before into construction and use it with today's technology and today's materials? Is there a way that we can link each two together? I know, for example, back in the day, for example, casting metal was not an option. Today it is an option. Can it solve some details that we were not able to solve back then, but keeping the same aesthetic and culture moving along, even while we are developing and using alternative materials?
We are of the opinion that aesthetics is mostly used as an icebreaker to get your ideas across. So something that is beautiful is always accepted more than something that is ugly. So I mean, I'm talking about you know, the general human tendency when it comes to, like, we are always receptive to something that we feel connected to. We're always, and it could you know, vary from place to place. It could vary from culture to culture. So in our case, we believe that you know, we have a particular language that we use, but at the same time, we try to not to fall into the trap of like engaging in a stylistic trend. So we keep evolving. But I believe that you know, what actually, you know, defines us as an architect and as a the designer is the fact that we try to communicate ideas than just stylistic trends. And with each project that we do, we try to do an incremental change. And for that to be accepted, aesthetics help.
We were talking about the emotional connection that design, or the emotional appeal that design also has. And Richard, I know that you work a lot with local artisans, many of whom are very, very talented, of course, and they're sort of converting this talent into design solutions for the present and the future. Do you think that it's important to the future of design that we retain and encourage this talent?
Definitely. Some of them are even more talented than us, than any designer. Anyways, well, I always considered the local artisans and craftsmen as our ancestors. So they are the ancestors of the designers in general. They were the designers during the past history. They created, prototyped, produced, and sold products. So even they made us proud by reflecting our cultural image. Their work is part of our history. They even were pioneers in the creative field. Therefore, it's our duty as contemporary designer and architects even to preserve this heritage as much as we can. Unfortunately, in our recent time, specifically in Lebanon at the moment, these talented craftsmen need urgently our support, at least by highlighting on what they do. So not to mention that that to persist, to live a decent life, a decent quality of life, they need to work and sell. However, with the absence of governmental support, adding to the massive economic crisis in Lebanon that we are passing through at the moment, there is no way for these individuals to sustain. Consequently, our duty is to provide the right opportunities to preserve their existence.
Maybe if I can just sort of add to Richard's response as well. I absolutely agree also that we have to preserve crafts from maybe a generation before us or many generations before us. For instance, I'm a huge fan of new technologies and new developments and innovations and what they can offer us as designers to design with. They are new tools in a way, but at the same time, there are certain crafts and knowledge from before our time that there is no way they can be replaced. Maybe an example is I work a lot with neon light, and it's really hand-blown glass that has the gas pumped into it. And I know that there are all these amazing new technologies with LED lights, and those new technologies really put most of these neon craftsmen out of business. But if you truly compare the two, there is simply no way that it can ever replace neon, because neon is really this physical thing, and to see it glowing and to see where this blue gas turns into a completely different color because a powder has been added to the glass, like it's such a beautiful, magical thing. So I think it's really important, absolutely, to help these craftsmen to keep being able to do their work. Sorry, got a phone call in between. I work a lot with layered glass. So by layering different kinds of glass, incorporating color and mirror, so it just creates this whole world of opportunities to design with. I can really play with how these colors mix with each other, how you can create reflections and shadow. And now, especially with in the field of energy, there's a lot of really interesting things going on where for whole facades of buildings can become solar panels by this beautiful coating that's on glass. It like sends the light rays into the edge of the glass where the solar panels are. So it's like an invisible technology. And I think, yeah, all these new developments can certainly aid in making smarter buildings, more efficient buildings, and using the resources, precious resources, in a more efficient and sustainable and careful way.
Yes, yeah, no, absolutely. Glass is, I think, one of the potentially the most beautiful design material to work with. But I'm also glad that you brought up technology, because Hen and Jijo, you, both of you, are proponents of green tech, which I know you've said in the past that it could come across as an additional cost when building a particular structure, but it's actually more cost efficient in the future, both in terms monetary wise and planetary wise. So do you think our future is or should be green?
It is a controversial topic these days. So yes, we believe that the time is running out, and we just believe that investing in green tech is just the right thing to do. I mean, there's no other way to go about it. But I believe that the biggest challenges that we face when it comes to adoption is the prohibitive initial costs, and there are restrictive regulations. And more than anything, the lack of incentives, at least in the places that we operate the most. We feel like it's a bit tricky in the Middle East, or at least in our area, because of the availability of cheap and subsidized electricity. So there is a over dependence on this for both artificial lighting and the thermal comfort. And for example, in Kuwait, in the eyes of an investor, we believe that the projected savings is not really worth the cost of the initial investment. So it's very hard to convince, let's say, a project on a smaller scale, an investor on a tighter budget to invest in these technologies. But it is an undeniable fact that the ambient temperatures are going up and every year, and also the cost of energy consumption is also going up. So what we do is we try to choose our battles. In some projects we are fortunate to have an active interest from the client and subsequent investment in sustainable tech, like for example integration of solar panels, solar water heaters, rainwater harvesting. But in projects that we don't have an active interest or an allocated budget for such green tech, we try to incorporate passive strategies like evaporative cooling, cross ventilation, learning from the vernacular, and try to abstract it and apply it in terms of planning strategies and massing strategies. So we believe that the building envelope is essential to these strategies, right? So we use environmental analysis software to propose the best optimized locations of the building apertures, and we try to use architectural elements such as cantilevers, overhangs, louvers, etc., to mitigate the heat gain as well. So, but we believe that to have a positive change in adoption, there should be an affirmative action from the side of the authorities to incentivize this type of investment. I think that is the key for adoption on a smaller scale. Larger projects where there is a quantified a savings when it comes to the building life cycle cost, there might be a interest, but in smaller projects it's very hard unless there are incentives, and that's a challenge that we face. But also it also happened that the passive strategies that we use in our projects also gave an identity to our projects, and it kind of defined our architectural language as well.
Another concept that falls under the umbrella of technology is prototyping, and Abdullah, you've spoken about it in the past. Can you take us through it a bit? What is it, and why do you think it has a place in the future of design?
Definitely. I just want to add one more point to Studio Toggle's comment. Is part of also the big we want much bigger impacts, are regulations. So regulators in every country, they should start implementing strict rules into implementing more environmentally usage of more environmentally friendly materials, more environmentally friendly MEP structures that will start showcasing a bigger impact on the long run. Because some investors, if it's something that is required by the regulations, they will have to comply with it regardless of the initial investment. So I think that's a very important point, that it's a teamwork between designers, regulators, and makers, and that's a very an interesting combo that people need to be all aligned so we can make a bigger impact. When it comes to prototyping, I think prototyping is a designer's journey. I kind of divide it into 3 stages of digital prototyping, physical prototyping, and two-dimensional prototyping when it comes to drawing or sketching. Based on each project, it happens in a different scenarios. Some projects require more the digital prototyping because of scale. If it's more of on the product scale, it can be more on hands-on physical. But I think every project should go through all the 3 stages. The percentage of each changes based on the project. Today we have 3D modeling softwares that can translate us from 3D models to virtual realities, and you can take you to a whole different tool of communication. So today we don't have to build something in reality to see how will it look. We can use 3D rendering, we can use virtual reality. Even clients who before used to have to read only 2D drawings, now they're more able to experience the spaces. And I think ultimately that also cut down the design changes in the future with the contractor. There are BIM 3D software that can help us with that also. So that becomes like on the digital side. The physical side is a different aspect, because once you start physically prototyping, and why do I call it a journey? Because sometimes mistakes happen, sometimes unintentional things happen while you're prototyping, and that can lead into a different design solution. Not everything that we design, let's say, once we get a brief, it's something that we have the answer for ultimately or directly. It's a process, and in that process that goes, you have to widen all your options and then filter it down and widen your options again, and then sometimes you have to. That's why you have to use different mediums to communicate your design, and that's why prototyping, I think, is a very important stage of every design product or building.
I don't think we will be more creative. However, you know, in our like subconscious mind, like our subconscious mind stores, you know, these theories, experience, memories, mementos. So it's our duty is to stimulate our imagination and daydream these things around us, you know. How also you know, pick up and try innovative ideas and generate like new substances inspired of life, inspired like create objects merged with emotional feelings, as also what Sabine said before. You know, so I think the past was never apart from our present moment, and will never be detached from the future.
As a parting shot and a parting thought, what do each of you think about this sentence? The future of design would be super bright if only. Sabine.
The future of design can be super bright if only everyone involved in the process, from production design all the way to consumer, is very thoughtful and considered in their decision making. I think just if we're speaking generally, it's just creative thinking should really be treasured and encouraged from a very young age. I think it creates freedom. It allows your mind to dream and to fantasize, and I think that's also very important for mental health. And again, on a larger scale of everything, it's good and important.
The future of design will be brighter if we remain ourselves, if we remain sensitive, we remain emotional. I think it will be brighter, without thinking a lot about profit.
Now that's a whole other thing, isn't it? Profit. But okay, Abdullah, the future of design would be super bright if only
it was always human-centric and revolving around the user, and we focus on who and why are we designing or producing this product.
We believe that the future of design will be super bright only when everybody in the world is empowered to create. Everybody can be themselves. I think it's all about the freedom to create. And like Rich has said, everybody has to be true to themselves, but everybody should also have the freedom to be true to themselves. I think then we will all be able to be assured for a super bright future for the design.
And to be responsible. That's what I believe too.
I would encourage positivity. I think when you create from a positive and hopeful standpoint, even in moments of crisis, it's a good place to start. And responsibility. I think it's very important to be responsible in all your decision making and very aware of what's going on, not just in your immediate surroundings, but in the larger world scenario. So I think both, hope, responsibility, and positivity are what I would pass on.
I would tell the future designers they need to know how powerful they are if they are designers. And in that power, you can make a lot of change in everything. This is what because it's such a powerful tool for creating a dialogue, for making communications, for having an impact on environment or surrounding, even like whatever happened in the pandemic here. I think even design saved us.
Thank you all for that. That was very enlightening, and I like that we've left it on a note of positivity, something to look forward to, which is what design and its repercussions are all about, I think. So thank you all.